Who is Joshua? For many people, Joshua is known simply as the man who came after Moses, the one who led the Israelites into the Promised Land. But his story is far richer, far more dramatic, and far more inspiring than a simple transition of leadership. Joshua's life is a tale of courage, obedience, and a faith so strong that it carried an entire nation into its destiny. In this animated overview, we're going to walk through Joshua's journey, from a young assistant learning under Moses, to a warrior fighting impossible battles, to a leader chosen by God himself to finish the mission Moses started. His story is filled with miracles, symbolism, and moments where the impossible becomes reality. And by the end, you'll not only understand who Joshua was, you'll understand why his life still matters today. Before Joshua became the leader of Israel, he was a young man learning what it meant to trust God in the face of fear. He first appears in the story as a warrior, someone Moses trusted enough to lead Israel's very first battle against the Amalekites. While Joshua fought on the field, Moses prayed on the hilltop, and together they learned a powerful truth. Victory doesn't come from strength alone, but from relying on God. From that moment on, Joshua became Moses' close assistant. He stayed near the tent of meeting, spending long hours in God's presence. He watched Moses lead, guide, and struggle with the people. Each experience shaped him, preparing him for responsibilities he didn't even know he would one day carry. Joshua was also one of the 12 spies Moses sent to scout out Canaan. While 10 returned with fear, saying the land was impossible to conquer, Joshua and Caleb were the only ones who believed God could do what he promised. That moment revealed something deep in Joshua's character: courage, rooted not in optimism, but in trust. Everything he went through, battles, wilderness trials, and moments of quiet faith, was building him into the leader Israel would desperately need. When Moses' time was coming to an end, the question of leadership loomed over the entire nation. Who could possibly take Moses' place? Who could guide millions of people, face hostile nations, and finish the journey toward the Promised Land? God answered that question clearly. Joshua was the one. Moses laid his hands on Joshua in front of all Israel, commissioning him as the new leader. But Joshua didn't step into leadership with arrogance. He stepped into with humility and fear. He knew how great Moses was. He knew the weight of what God was asking. And that's why God spoke directly to him with one of the most famous commands in Scripture. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid, for I am with you wherever you go. With those words, Joshua rose to his calling. He was no longer the assistant, no longer the observer. He was now the shepherd of a nation and the commander of an army, chosen not because he was perfect, but because he trusted God completely. Under this new leadership, Israel was finally ready to move forward. And the first challenge ahead of them? A river at flood stage. Joshua's first test as Israel's new leader came immediately. The Jordan River was overflowing, raging with seasonal floodwaters, and the entire nation needed to cross it. On their own, it was impossible. But Joshua didn't hesitate. He told the priests carrying the Ark of the Covenant, the symbol of God's presence, to step into the water. And the moment their feet touched the river, something miraculous happened. The waters upstream stopped flowing and piled up in a great heap, while the waters downstream drained away, leaving a dry path in the middle of what had just been a roaring river. Just like the Red Sea under Moses, God showed Israel that he was still with them, now working through Joshua. Families, soldiers, elders, millions of people walked across the dry bedrock while the ark stood firm in the center. It was a moment of awe, a moment that announced to every nation nearby, Israel had crossed over, and their God was with them. When the last person reached the far side, the waters returned, but the memory remained. Joshua had led well. He had listened. He had obeyed, and with this miracle behind them, Israel stepped into the land promised to their ancestors. Once inside the land, Joshua faced the first major obstacle, the fortified city of Jericho. Its walls were massive, towering over the landscape like an impenetrable shield. From a military perspective, there was no logical strategy that could take it down. But Joshua wasn't relying on logic, he was relying on God. God gave him a strange command: march around the city once a day for 6 days, with priests blowing trumpets and the ark leading the procession. No swords drawn, no siege towers, no battering rams, just obedience. On the 7th day, the people marched around the city 7 times. Then Joshua gave the signal. The trumpets blasted, the people shouted with all their strength, and the impossible happened. The walls collapsed in an instant, falling flat beneath the dust and echoing trumpets. Jericho wasn't won by strategy or might, it was won by trust. And when the walls fell, it wasn't just a victory for Israel, it was a confirmation that God Himself was fighting for them. This miracle marked the beginning of Israel's conquest of Canaan. Under Joshua's leadership, one impossible victory after another made it clear. This journey wasn't about Joshua's power, it was about God's faithfulness. After Jericho fell, the rest of the land was not simply handed over. Joshua had to lead Israel through difficult battles, unexpected setbacks, and moments that tested both strategy and faith. One of those moments came with the small town of Ai. Israel approached it with confidence, maybe too much confidence, and suffered a surprising defeat. But Joshua didn't pretend everything was fine. He fell before God, seeking understanding, and God revealed the issue: disobedience within Israel. Once the sin was addressed, Joshua returned to Ai with renewed dependence on God, and this time the victory was decisive. It was a reminder that success wasn't automatic, it was connected to obedience. Many more battles followed. Kings united against Israel, armies gathered to strike them down, and Joshua had to lead his people in the face of overwhelming odds. In one famous moment, God even made the sun stand still in the sky so Joshua could complete a battle before nightfall. It was a miracle unlike anything seen before or after, a sign that creation itself responded when God fought for His people. Through every challenge, Joshua's leadership remained steady. He sought God, he acted with courage, and the people followed not because Joshua was perfect, but because he constantly pointed them back to the God who had never failed them. After years of conflict, the major battles were won. The land God had promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob was finally in Israel's hands. But Joshua's mission wasn't only about conquering, it was about establishing. With the enemies defeated and peace settling across the region, Joshua began the careful, thoughtful work of dividing the land among the 12 tribes of Israel. This was not just administrative work, it was the fulfillment of a centuries-old promise, a moment generations had prayed for and dreamed of. Every tribe received its inheritance, territory, cities, and boundaries, shaped by God's direction through Joshua. He helped settle disputes, assigned cities of refuge, and ensured the Levites had places to serve. Joshua wasn't only a military leader, he was a shepherd, guiding a nation into its new life. The wilderness was behind them, the promise was now reality. And through it all, Joshua kept reminding the people of one central truth. They hadn't arrived because of their strength, but because of God's faithfulness. As Joshua grew older, his battles were behind him, but his responsibility as a leader remained. He gathered the people of Israel one final time, elders, leaders, families, and tribes, and spoke words that carried the weight of a lifetime of faith. He reminded them of everything God had done, the miracles in Egypt, the journey through the wilderness, the victories in the land, and the promises fulfilled before their eyes. Joshua knew human hearts forget easily. He knew that comfort can lead to complacency, and success can lead to drifting away from God. So he challenged Israel with a choice, one of the most powerful declarations in the entire Bible. Choose this day whom you will serve, but as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. These weren't just dramatic parting words, they were the heartbeat of Joshua's entire life. He had served faithfully from the moment he followed Moses into battle to the day he guided Israel into their inheritance. He wasn't perfect, but he was consistent. He lived with courage, he trusted God in moments when fear made more sense, and he led a nation not through charisma or force, but through faith. When Joshua died, the scriptures say that Israel continued to serve the Lord throughout his lifetime and for years afterwards. His example shaped a generation. His leadership brought a wandering people into their promise, and his legacy stands as a reminder that faith and obedience can change the course of history. Joshua's story is more than an ancient tale. It's a reminder that courage grows from trust, that faith leads us forward even when the path is uncertain, and that God's promises are stronger than any obstacle we face. From the wilderness to the walls of Jericho, from battles to blessings, Joshua showed what it looks like to walk boldly with God. Thank you so much for joining this animated journey. If this overview helped you understand Joshua's story more deeply, make sure to like this video, share it with someone who would enjoy it, and subscribe for more powerful animated Bible stories. There's so much more ahead, and I can't wait to explore it with you.